Thank you so much, Ray, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Eric Alzuhn, and I'm the Senior Vice President in charge of daily operations at Dialsmith. We are headquartered in beautiful Portland, Oregon, and have satellite offices in Philly, New York, and London. Dialsmith is the worldwide developer of the perception analyzer dial testing technologies for both in-person and online research. We not only develop the dial testing technology, but we offer various levels of services to companies and researchers around the globe. So when I mentioned the term dial testing, I am sure a number of you were quite unsure of what I meant by that. Whether you're a seasoned dial testing professional or not, I'm confident that you've seen dial testing in action, or at least some of its outcomes. Let me pause for a moment and tell you a brief story about a dial testing success story and how it actually changed someone's life. Pictured here is Juliana Margulies. Some of you may know her as the Good Wife, but this is a much earlier photo from earlier in her career. So let's jump back in time to 1994 when Juliana is casted to play the role of Nurse Hathaway on the TV medical drama ER. And as we all recall from that pilot episode, Nurse Hathaway commits suicide and actually dies. Her character never stepped on screen again. Well, that's at least how that original pilot episode was filmed, but it was never aired. So let me tell you why. When the studio asked researchers to dial test this new show and capture real-time feedback, everyone was surprised with just how much the focus group respondents disliked it. The dial lines plummeted. And the researchers were able to view this graphical data as respondents watched the episode and revise their post-viewing line of questioning on the fly. The researchers were able to determine that the plummeting dial scores were not a result of the dislike of the show itself. It was because the respondents fell in love with the character of Nurse Hathaway and wanted her to continue on in her role and playing George Clooney's love interest in the show. The studio reshot that pilot episode where Nurse Hathaway still attempts suicide, but this time fortunately lives. And since that pilot episode, Juliana goes on to win Emmys, Golden Globes, and many awards and accolades, and has yet to dedicate one of those awards to Dialsmith and our contribution to her career and furthering that on. So Juliana, I just ask one time when you're up on stage, just give us a little shout out. Well, I think that was a little more than a minute, so let's go back to our scheduled program. For the better part of 3 decades, dial testing was conducted in person using our handheld dial technology. Yep, these dials. As Alton Brown once said in an episode of Food Network Star with Dial in Hand, say hello to my little friend. They have been referred to as the worm, gizmos, garage door openers, that one always makes me cringe, and even the dial of doom, but we warmly refer to them as the perception analyzer, or just dials. We began developing our technology in the mid-80s, and it has been part of every presidential election cycle since Ronald Reagan, and you've likely seen this dial data being shared in some very public ways. The application of dial testing goes far beyond entertainment research. Advertisers use it to test short and long-form content to ensure their ads will move the targeted consumer before making an ad buy. This process often starts as early as the animatic phase of development. Sales teams refine their sales pitches, their presentations before walking into that meeting room or going on stage. Political and public policy researchers look for the best words and phrases that will put their candidate or issue in the most favorable light possible for their ideal voter. Litigators use it to test mock juries, attorney arguments, witness testimonies, and evidence before even stepping into that courtroom. And technology developers see it as a value add for them and their customers when other research methodologies are integrated into their platforms. One of our corporate clients captured the value of dial testing best when she said, "There are times when you need to know the precise moment that an opinion changed, a heart was won over, a mind was terribly confused. I see dial testing as an applicable methodology for any experience research where moments matter." Moving our conversation from dial testing in general to its online equivalent, let's first explore the breakdown of market research by type of research. According to the 2017 GRIT report, 35% of all research takes place in qualitative environments, and nearly 60% takes place on quantitative platforms. If we break that down further, 36% of all qual research takes place online in online focus groups, online communities, bulletin boards, etc. And 70% of all quant research takes place as online and mobile surveys. And that's huge, and it's only growing. So what's driving the significant move to online? Research shows that the move to online is being driven by the fact that online is relatively more cost efficient. It's more flexible, there's quicker turnaround, and frankly, this is the environment where today's consumer is living. The sweet spot for dial testing is testing content. And as we all know, the volume of content online has exploded over the past 5 years. When looking at this infographic created by AOL, you see that 52% of all consumers watch videos daily on their smartphones, desktops, and laptops. And 54% watch videos online more today than they did just a year ago. Forbes took a look at this astounding move to online and was able to determine that every second of every day, 1 million minutes of video content moves across the internet. And that's just shy of 17,000 hours of content every second. So about 5 years ago, our team at Dialsmith had a big decision to make. And fortunately, we chose wisely and chose to evolve and develop our own online version of the dial system that works in a very similar fashion to the in-person dials. Our first version of the Perception Analyzer Online launched in 2012. Our current version is both computer and tablet friendly. It integrates with other online research platforms and tools such as Invoke and Qualtrics, and supports asynchronous data collection where respondents complete surveys at different times. As we just saw in this brief video, instead of using a physical dial as the input device, we use online dials on-screen sliders to capture that data response. We capture that position every single second and record that data and plot it as a continuously moving line overlaid on top of that video. Here's just a splash of some familiar brands and organizations using online dial testing today, but I want to focus on one of these brands in particular. Nest. Nest utilized online dial testing brilliantly in a recent study we conducted with them. We're not talking about this kind of nest, although it is a lovely photo of a bald eagle perched on its nest, and I have to thank my marketing department for putting that in there. But we're talking about this Nest, the Google-owned smart thermostat company. Nest was looking to evaluate a series of instructional tutorials and videos, each approximately 5 minutes in length. Nest had several unique requirements for us in the execution of this study. First, Nest was not only looking to evaluate the video as a whole, but wanted to evaluate and assess each segment within each of those videos to see where they might lose people or where points of confusion were created. And they wanted to see how their customers were continuously reacting to the videos as they were watching them. Thus enters dial testing. Thirdly, they wanted to reach a geographically diverse group of customers in the environment that they would actually be watching these videos in. And finally, they wanted to use a Qualtrics-powered survey prior to serving up any of these videos to gain a deeper understanding of each respondent's specific use case so they could assign them the right videos to evaluate. As a result, the feedback gathered by more than 700 of their customers allowed us to pinpoint the specific strengths and weaknesses of each video. And the goal of redirecting respondents to our platform after segmentation in Qualtrics, and then back again to Qualtrics after video evaluation, was accomplished seamlessly. Our client on this project, Elizabeth Merrick May, head of consumer insights for Nest, had this to say about the project. Because we tested a few different yet similarly structured videos, we were able to make comparisons across videos to derive deeper insights. The dial data allowed us to accumulate and assess helpfulness scores that encapsulated feedback for both the video in totality as well as subsegments for each video. Just over 5 years ago, online dial testing was just an idea, and now it's being adopted by brands and organizations across many industries and integrated with other online digital tools. So what's next for online dial testing? Our team at Dialsmith is focused on many factors in deriving the future development of our technology. We're developing ways to integrate into more quantitative and qualitative research platforms. We're supporting dial testing on smartphones, where respondents are served videos with a slider right on their screen, right on their mobile survey. We're gathering feedback from live events as they're being streamed. Envision being able to collect the continuous feedback of a presidential debate, an industry titan testifying to Congress, or keynote addresses and product launches as viewers watch remotely. We're exploring methods for utilizing smartphones and tablets as second screen dial testing devices. This would open the possibility of millions of football fans watching the Super Bowl and being able to rate the ads simultaneously. The broadcasters and news outlets would then have this data results instantly to report on. And the world of VR opens many new exciting opportunities as respondents provide feedback within an immersive VR experience. So with that, Ray, I want to thank you, and again, thanks to everyone for joining us today.